Great value drinking water. When I'm parched, there's nothing like the refreshing, cold flavor of Great Value drinking. Thanks, Great Value. But does anyone else think that so many of the big conservative influencers absolutely fucking suck? Not all of them. I think Charlie Kirk's really good. Not so much the streamers, though I have quibbles with some of them. But like the big X accounts like Ian Miles Chung, that guy fucking sucks. That guy sucks. All he does is agree with Elon and rip off every smaller streamer's fucking content. And there's so many people just like him. So many. Or it'll be people like, I'm sorry, like Cat Turd that's like, ha, cool Trump meme. Ha, Democrats suck. Like, I don't mind that. And yeah, you're not, man. Fine, make money. I don't care. But I think that there was originally an organic growth to people like that, and now they're promoted on places like X. And a lot of what they do is take smaller contents. I saw one the other day who seemingly like Rothmus puts a little comic up, and it's this drawing of it looks like a toddler in Africa. And he's reaching, there's a white woman offering him a bottle of water. And she's like, first, let me talk to you about your pronouns. And as soon as I saw that comic, I'm like, that's my friend Jim Bob. That's Jim Bob's comic. No attribution to Jim Bob. Just take his shit. Jim Bob will put that up and get 30 likes. This dude put it up and get 10,000. Then get a nice fat paycheck from X. Not the person that actually created it, who actually, and it's a hilarious comic, by the way. It's very good. Then we have this Snap conversation that occurs this weekend, right? Should food stamps be used to purchase soda? No, they shouldn't be allowed. I don't give a shit. But Rob, aren't you sort of libertarian adjacent? Do you want the government getting involved in our lives? No, then take away the food stamps. There, that's getting the government out of our lives. But to the extent that you're basically going to steal from people in the form of taxation and force them to have a social safety net because you're making the moral claim, as a society, we can't leave people starve. Okay, I'm open to hearing that. I think the program is incredibly abused and way more people are on it than is necessary, but nonetheless, fine, great. If we're going to say as a society, we've come together and we have realized that we're going to have certain social safety nets, I can live with that. I can. But what is the moral reasoning for why you're taking everybody's money? That moral reasoning is we can't leave people become unhealthy because they can't afford a diet that would be beneficial to them. Okay. What part of needing soda falls into that? What part of healthy diet? SNAP, the Supplemental Nutritional Assistance Program. What part of soda fits into that? Full disclosure, me and my family have been on food stamps in my life. And I'll guarantee we bought chips and soda and shit like that. And I'm not begrudging the people that are doing it. I'm begrudging that if we're going to fix this and say, yeah, you can't get soda, that's what we should do as a country. But Rob, you piece of shit. Don't poor people deserve small pleasures in life? Yes, absolutely. That doesn't mean I should have to pay for it. Everybody that lives in Western Pennsylvania should once in their life go to PNC Park. Absolutely one of the most gorgeous baseball parks you'll ever be to. The Pirates suck, but the park is gorgeous. Here's my recommendation to you. For very cheap, maybe like 15 bucks, you could get seats up in, let me see, it would be left field. At the very top of left field. Me and my wife would do this all the time. Maybe 15 bucks you can get seats up there. And go on a Friday night. I think it's a Friday night. And this company Zambelli does fireworks there. And they'll get out on the river there right in Pittsburgh. You're right sitting adjacent to the river. And they'll get a big barge that they shoot the fireworks up. And it looks like they're exploding right in front of your face. Absolutely amazing. Absolutely amazing. You shouldn't have to pay for me to do that though. But everybody should do it. It's great. I just don't think that I should take your tax dollars to send people on that little trip. But Rob, most of them have jobs. They're working poor. Great, then the $5 that you were going to spend on 2 liters of soda, reach into your paycheck and take that $5 and buy the soda. Problem solved. And if you don't have $5 or $10 or whatever a case of soda costs, then maybe you have bigger problems than food stamps to buy soda. If you can't cut $5 out of your dietary budget and need to use your, $200 of food stamps, 5, 10, 20 of those dollars need to be spent on soda because you literally don't have 5, 10, 20 of your own dollars to spend on soda, then you have bigger problems. But Rob, won't people just buy steaks and lobsters and other stuff and then sell them and use the cash? Yeah, I suppose that's fraud. But yes, I suppose people will do things like that. That doesn't mean that we should make it easier for them to buy sugary bullshit like soda. But Rob, you're a fat fuck that no doubt drank soda in your life. Yes, you're right. Poor people absolutely should have every right, just like wealthy people, to drink or eat any bullshit that they want. You should absolutely have that right. That doesn't mean that everyone else should pay for it. Now, we already have programs like this in other ways, like WIC. WIC is a program for infants, toddlers, to make sure that they're getting proper nutritional stuff. With WIC, what you get is basically vouchers for milk, bread, eggs, cheese. Where are all the conservatives out there saying, or for that matter, lefties, that are saying, well, you have to let them have soda or it's the government interfering? Then I suppose it's already too much government interference on WIC. What about those poor toddlers that want soda? They're not entitled to it? Oh, that's government interference. The WIC program's brutal. And for that matter, why stop it there? If you're on food stamps, aren't you entitled to little pleasures like soda? Then aren't you entitled to cigarettes too? Why not allow food stamps for cigarettes? How about booze? Weed's legal now in many states. How about your food stamps for weed, right? But that's the straw man because there's no nutritional substance in weed. I'm sorry, what's the nutritional substance in soda? And then we have regulations on food stamps like you can't use it for hot meals. So for example, if you go to Walmart, one of the things that's really cheap that me and my family get all the time at our local Walmart, which is basically the only grocery store around, there's an Aldi's too, but that's about it. They have like whole rotisserie chickens for like $5. They don't feed me, my wife, and my son easily, but we'll do things like just peel the meat off the bone and get a little like taco seasoning, and then you have fajitas. Chicken's already made, it's simple. But you can't get that with food stamps, which is far healthier than the potato chips and bullshit you could get. Anyways, that's my spiel. I feel that although I'm hesitant to have the government have control of our lives, they already have control in programs like WIC, and they already control certain things with food stamps, like you can't buy hot food. No, you cannot buy any cooked food with EBT. None. So we already have those limits, so who's to say we can't limit it a little further? At this point, we're just talking about thresholds. I think the threshold of allowing them to eliminate soda would be better. We haven't even talked about many of the people that are on food stamps are also on Medicaid, so you get to pay for them for their poor dietary decisions. Again, I'm not judging them. I myself make poor dietary decisions. But the difference is I'm buying that with my own money. So you pay for the poor dietary decisions, then you get to pay for Medicaid for the poor decisions that they made that puts them into the doctor's office. You can buy pizza from Little Caesars. I did not know that. Maybe it varies state to state as well. I don't know. I know many of the companies like the one I work at, where we're working with adults with disabilities, many of those adults get food stamps. So I'm familiar with using a food stamp card in that way. That's basically the only knowledge I have of me personally shopping and using a food stamp card. And with that, we just get necessities. But in fairness, many of the people also have health conditions like diabetes, so you wouldn't be tempted to buy soda anyways. That's the argument though. Now, where does this come into me bitching about conservative influencers? Okay, well, you saw these conservative influencers like Ian Miles Chung that were like, this is absurd, blah, blah, blah. And there's a bunch of them that were popping up. Eric Doherty was one of them. And they're like, almost like very similar posts from one another. Well, people did some background checking, and it turns out many of these conservative influencers, many of them are getting paid. Now, they're not directly getting paid by Coca-Cola. Some of them are getting paid through sort of intermediate agencies that would post to them like, hey, we'll pay you $100 or $1,000 for a post that's X number of long, and then we'll give you $10 per 1,000 views or something like that. Some of what happens is there's not a direct paycheck, but they'll get an email through a sort of advertising company they've worked for that was like, hey, here's our position on this. And there's an implicit agreement that if I want them to reach out to me on different things, then I sort of, these are the types of things I have to say so that they'll keep giving me their advertising dollars. Nonetheless, the problem is many people are getting paid and they're not announcing it. Now, let's do it this way. I have not taken any money from any advertising agent like that. Let's clear the air totally on money I've received. To the best of my knowledge, I suppose I could be forgetting something, but to the best of my knowledge, here's money I've received. Super chats on YouTube, subscriptions on YouTube. Super chats are the equivalent in subscriptions on Twitch. A handful of dollars, maybe $100 in the entire time I've been there. Maybe more than that, I don't know, on Rumble. I used to have a Patreon that money would come through. All of that falls into the category of just fans sending money. I don't know if they're Russian, if they're Israeli, if they're government employees, if they work at Coca-Cola, if they're with the Make America Healthy Again movement. I don't know. I've taken that money. Never once in any of that has there been any strings attached to, here's the message we want you to say. It's just like, hey, we like your show, here's money. Okay, that's pool one of money I've received. The first pool of money, right? Pool two, and I'm only saying this to be safe, I have received ads, and I've worked with two of them. Years ago, both of them. One was a CBD company, and the other was, something with computers or something, like I think custom PC shop. Both of them, the arrangement was, we'll give you a URL, and then you say, hey, CBD product, I've tried it, seems good. If you were interested in purchasing CBD stuff, go to this website and type in my name. And the agreement was, I got a percentage of what was ever sold. I, to my knowledge, have received $0, and no one has ever purchased any product in my name like that. So for that, I've received $0. In both of those, though, even though I never received money, I did acknowledge, hey, this company I'm working with. But just to clarify, lest I be accused, someone digs up a video from me 3 years ago. In fact, at least with the CBD ladies, I remember I actually had them on live for an interview to talk about their product. Is there any other way that I've received money? I have had people send me, did you see that badass shirt I wear sometimes that says, "This is Democracy Manifest"? That was a fan sent me that. I've had fans send me hats, books, coin, like Trump coin. I've had fans send me an American flag. That's it. So I've never taken money for a political position. I didn't take money from Tenet Media or anything like that. Though I suppose they did put me up in a hotel. Tim Pool put me up in a hotel for 2 nights? So I guess if your argument is Tim Pool got paid for Russia, then technically a matriculated amount of Russia money maybe went into the hotel that I got to go on Tim Pool's show. But so did every lefty that was ever on Tim Pool's show then, using that logic. I haven't even taken soda from Big Soda. If they sent me a 6-pack of diet soda, I'd be happy. That's it. Now, we went through this with Tenet, but we went through it more with Progressive Victory PAC. The problem with Connor taking money from Progressive Victory PAC was that it seemed to be antithetical to what he claimed to stand for as a conservative. You could be a conservative and say, I hate Donald Trump. It's perfectly reasonable. You could be a conservative and say, I'm voting for Kamala. Okay, fine. But to claim that you're a conservative and then to get paid and help an organization whose stated goal is to create progressive activists to win elections, including down ballot, and to make the Democrat Party more progressive, which is the antithesis of conservatism, seems outlandish. I don't have a problem, though, if you were a progressive, like someone like Wick, and then you take money from Progressive Victory PAC. I don't have a problem with that. The only problem is if you're not disclosing that you're taking money. But the only two problems I have are, one, if you're changing what you would believe for the money. So if I'm a Trump supporter and all of a sudden the Progressive Victory PAC people come to me and they're like, Rob, we'll pay you $20,000 a month to bash Trump now. And then all of a sudden you see me on here and I'm like, yeah, Trump's the fucking worst. Next time I'm voting Democrat. And then you find out, wait a minute, this dude's getting paid now by Progressive Victory to say that. That's fucking shady and unethical. And it's also not as shady, but still not good to not disclose that you're being paid for something like that. I'm not saying that you have to disclose it every 5 seconds or even every show, but it's something that you should make public knowledge. Hey, a political organization's paying me money. Hey, an advertising agency's paying me money to share these sorts of political views. And we would say that about anything. Great value drinking water. When I'm parched, there's nothing like the refreshing, cold flavor of Great Value drinking. Thanks, Great Value. Now, if I do that, and I'm getting paid by Great Value, and I don't tell you that, that's unethical. But if I say, hey, this show today, I want to say thanks to our sponsor, Great Value Drinking Water. I drink it all the time. I'm always flat in my gums here. My mouth gets dry because there's probably spittle coming out and shit like that. You know what helps me out with the old dry mouth? Great Value Drinking. So thanks to them again for sponsoring. Pick up a case at your local Walmart or Sam's Club. See, it's different. Oh, it's a sponsorship. Everybody understands that. So to see so many of these big influencers that are apparently receiving money indirectly through advertising agencies that are telling them to have this position on soda is horseshit. Oh, and it just so happens it's a bunch of talentless fucking hacks like Ian Miles Chung that are just yes men for people like Elon Musk and basically cribbing smaller content creators' material. Fuck them. Now, to his defense, Eric Doherty, who I see his post, admitted it. He was like, yeah, my bad. I should have admitted. I believe his position is, this is my honest opinion. We should be able to get soda with Snap. But yes, I did get paid, and I should have disclosed that, and I'm sorry. I could live with that. An apology, and he's like, it won't happen again. Next time I'm paid for something like that, I'll be sure to acknowledge it. We'll see, but okay, you made a mistake. Fine. But it just feels like everything is astroturfed. Yeah, his honest opinion is garbage, I agree, but opinions are opinions. I live with that. I'd live with shitty opinions. Everything feels astroturfed anymore.